The stream is
Good
live.
evening, everyone. I'm here with Chris. I'm here with David. We're going to talk about all the 2024 D&D reveals that we've heard over the last couple weeks. Some of us have more information than others and can only share what we've seen in the reveals. We got Math Guy Dave here in the chat. If you're here in the chat or you're joining us in the chat, let us know where you're from in the comments. So we see, where do we start? There's so much we know already. So let's talk about some of the big common rules.
This is the way it's going to work. You're going to bring all that stuff up because I don't remember one from the other, right? So
yeah.
So you got to bring it up, and then I'm like, okay, you know that, and then I can,
chat. Go ahead and you can ask questions too. So
big one was... Math Guy Dave already knows, like we talk all the time, right? So
yeah,
and Coral too.
Coral.
They both have talked to me many times about this stuff.
So potions as a bonus action. We know for sure at least healing potions, and they kind of indicate it was all potions later on in a additional stream, but I don't know for sure. Which brings
I've seen a lot of people questioning whether it's healing potions or all potions, so I will not be clarifying.
What I'm interested in is, okay, so this brings in another bonus action question, right? We always had the bonus action problem with spells. Mm-hmm. Now we got the bonus action problem with potions. If drinking a potion is a bonus, can you also drink it as an action? Hopefully that lets you uptick the bonus actions, right? Because there might be where you use a bonus to do Misty Step, and then you want to drink your potion as an action. So it'd be really bad if you could not drink it as either one.
That's true. Now, traditionally, if we look at 2014, you can never do that. If it's a bonus action, it's a bonus action.
Yeah. I hope that's a big rule change that they made. That they haven't clarified they did that yet. So that's a big one. Yeah. Another big universal rule change is surprise. Right.
Yes. I was so glad they said. Oh, I was dying on that one because it's like, it was last time we talked. David, you asked me like the first things I was going to check when I read the player's handbook, and those are the things I checked, right?
Yeah.
And surprise was one of them, and I was like, wow, this is huge, and I'm like, I can't tell anybody. And then they said it, and I was, oh, thank goodness.
We got Brian from Brooklyn, New York. Math Guy Dave says surprise rules are the best change so far, and I tend to agree.
Yeah, I think I am so happy with that change.
Yeah, and of course I put up a poll. It's interesting to look at my poll results. I was maybe the closest one was Divine Smite. We'll get to that one in a second. But I also asked the question about, how do you like the surprise rules? And that one was actually kind of closer than I thought it'd be. It was 60% favor and 35% against. I think the against part of that is really that there's so much kind of like there's some abstraction there, right? You think, oh, if I sneak up on them, I should be able to go first no matter what.
Yeah. You know what I think a portion of it is? I think a portion of it is there are people looking to be angry about things.
Yeah.
Right?
There's that for sure.
There's a certain anti-everything crowd. Yeah. And so they changed this. I hate it.
I've always loved initiative. I think of like old Westerns. So you got two guys lining up to draw. The bad guy reaches for his gun first. So he's the first, quote, to act. But the good guy draws faster and shoots him. Yeah. So the good guy won initiative, even though the bad guy started the combat. So you can think of it that way. The one thing I always hated was when you start off a combat and not everyone was known to be in the combat, and someone would win initiative, but there's no one for them to go against. And so then it'd go to the next person. It's like they were left out.
Yeah.
I always try to avoid that. I always wait and I say, okay, these people jump out at you in surprise. And so you're going to be surprised, but roll initiative. Or if you have some special feature, then they're there and you can attack them. Because I always hate it when the winner of initiative doesn't get act. That was always a pet peeve of mine.
I've been in that situation before.
Yeah.
Now I do kind of. I was thinking about this earlier, just an hour ago, and I'm imagining that at some point there's going to be somebody who has been playing the 2014 rules, and they're not going to have bought the new player's handbook, but they're going to want to join a session where people are using, and it's going to be pretty easy, right?
Mm.
Like they're going to be able to sit down and play, and it's not going to be a problem. But I could imagine getting the DM say, "All right, you guys are surprised. You're rolling initiative with disadvantage," and them going, "What? I don't lose the first round anymore?" And the DM, who maybe has never read the 2014 Player's Handbook, says, "What? You were so you
Yeah.
stand around for 6 seconds doing nothing?
Yeah.
That would be insane."
Okay, another big universal change is heroic inspiration. And this changed from the very last playtest.
Yeah.
So now it is you don't get advantage, you get to re-roll. And you get to re-roll any roll. I
Yeah.
don't know how broad any roll is. They didn't really clarify that, of course, but it could be damage roll, it could be attack roll, it could be a saving throw, it could be
I
a
mean,
lot of
Jeremy
things.
Crawford said any roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he kind of emphasized any. And I, the immediate thing I thought of was hit points.
Yeah.
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 Oh, if you're one of those people who rolls hit points and you roll bad, that's a bad roll that carries forward for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a great roll to be re-rolling. Right?
The swingiest reroll to force would be if the Dragon Breath recharges on a turn, and you make that the DM.
Oh yeah,
re-roll
you have
that.
them re-roll. That's a good point. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Some DMs
Yeah.
will give that to the players, right? They'll say, okay, I'll let you do the recharge roll. And the
Yeah.
player says, okay, well, I'm going to use my heroic inspiration after that recharge. Math Guy Dave says, I like this change because advantage was getting very cheap and the reroll is much rarer. Yeah, I mean, there's lots
Yeah.
of things that give advantage, right? And so you weren't often, you already had it. And
Yeah.
it always
So
felt dirty if you're playing a VTT where you get to see the two dice and you know the order the two dice come up in on the VTT, then you would know if you wasted it or didn't waste it.
Yeah,
Or if
but
you have
can't
two
think that
colored
way.
dice, if you have two colored dice that you normally roll on a table, you'd know if you wasted it or didn't waste it. And so that always felt bad too. So
Math Guy Dave and Coral and I and some other people did a lot of playtesting with the Unearthed Arcana as they came out, and I'll tell you what, if you were attacking, you pretty much had advantage on every attack, right?
Yeah.
Everybody did.
Yeah,
It was
so
just so much.
weapon
So much
mastery.
I can give it to you.
Weapon mastery. That's probably what's giving you a lot of the advantage, right? Because you got a
There,
lot of
there's
weapons that give it.
there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like I played a wild magic sorcerer. You can use Tides of Chaos every round, right?
Mhm, right. Yeah. So speaking of that, overall, everything's getting stronger on the player side. Clearly.
Yeah.
So have you seen a monster manual? Are you allowed to say if you've seen one of those?
No. I can say no. I have
Yeah.
not seen a monster manual
But
or a DM guide.
you have seen a
only
player's
seen
handbook, which has a lot of stats in the back.
Yes.
Some of which might be creatures the monster characters might fight on some occasions. So I can imagine the total CRs you need for a fight to be challenging might go up, or unless all the monsters got a lot better.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, now they have indicated that they are going to rebalance monsters, right? Especially at higher challenge ratings. But I totally agree. I think a fifth level party is going to be more powerful now than it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coral makes a good point. It's better for almost everyone to have the reroll for heroic inspiration, except a rogue who might have wanted to have that advantage to get their sneak attack in. That's the one case. Yeah, that's the one case where it'd be not as good. Good point. Okay, so that was heroic inspiration. And that was, let's see, I asked a question there. Everyone loved that. That was 80% yes, 12% no on that one. And then the next big one was, we already covered Drink It Potion. So Divine Smite. So we're going to get into a character class now. The Paladin got a lot better in a lot of ways, but definitely nerfed the Smite.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was needed, but it came down a lot.
I got to be honest. The Paladin, I think it was a little overtuned, and they gave it more, right? They gave it more channel divinities. They gave it, I don't remember everything they gave it. They gave it a number of things. So something needed to be addressed. I'm not sure Divine Smite was the biggest issue with Paladin. I would have said Aura of Protection.
The Aura is the biggest for balancing encounters, right? I mean, if you're a party of characters and you have someone with the leadership feat, someone with a healer feat, and someone with the Paladin Aura, you're twice as good a party as a party without those things.
Yeah.
As long as the DM knows that and adjusts the encounters for it, it's no big deal. But yeah, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
That aura is huge. And they didn't mention it at all in the previews, which leads me to think they didn't change it. I'm sure you know, Chris, but you can't say so.
It wasn't changed in the playtests, but the
No
thing with
playtest
the
change at
aura,
all.
It was
No.
not
and we've
changed in
said
the
this
playtest.
before, the aura is kind of a challenge to rebalance the fights, but it's not. It's still a fun feature for everyone in the party. The
That's right.
smite, we've all seen that circumstance where the paladin goes up and finishes fights over and over again with a lot of smites and a nova, and that is not, that's fun once, but after a while everyone
rest of the
else in
characters
the
are like,
party
"Why am
is
I
looking
here?"
at their watch and wondering why they showed up.
Another huge one for that was Sharpshooter. In the last playtest, it was really heavily nerfed. I don't know if it stays. We'll see. So
They
if you get rid of
haven't given any information
No.
about feats yet, other than
Nope.
the generalities of you got origin feats, general feats, fighting style feats, and epic boons. That's
Yeah.
and some of the epic boons have been revealed on D&D Beyond.
Okay.
They've given they've
Right.
done the little articles
Yeah,
for
let me
each,
share one of
each one
those.
they've done it, and they have one epic boon feat that they recommend for that class, and they have given the mechanics for them.
So here's the Paladin, for example. And if you go into their articles, they give
Yeah,
level by level what changed.
It'll be right down at the bottom. They'll have the epic
Yeah.
boon feat.
They go through the details. And then here's Boon of True Sight.
Mhm.
Increase one of your abilities by 1 to max at 30. Gain True Sight to 60 feet. Yeah. And they have that. Okay, so let's look at the fighter. Share that instead.
Yeah.
What
One of
he
them
have?
is if you miss, you can just change it to a hit once per round or something like that.
Yeah, that's the fighter
There-
one. Whenever
yeah,
you miss an attack roll, you hit instead. Someone had one that when you miss the attack, was the rogue. So the like 20th level rogue feature or something very high for a rogue. Share this one here. It was you turn a roll, a miss into, or a failed roll into a 20. And it didn't used to be quota critical. Actually, what it used to say was you turn it into a success.
And to a success, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
now
So
it says
that's
you
a
turn it
boost.
into a 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that feels good for a rogue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because the critical is so nice when you have
Yeah.
a lot of sneak attack dice.
Yeah. Let's see here. Brian said Smite need to be nerfed. I agree. Corel, especially with the lay on hands change, I think Smite need to take a bonus action to make it a real choice whether you want to do more damage or
Oh,
more
well,
healing.
there we're back into bonus action.
Yeah.
Conflicting again. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a good point.
It's
Chris,
going
is
to be
your
real.
sense that people are going to really be struggling to figure out what to use with their bonus actions because they have so many options with them now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say with the Divine Smite, I have seen a lot of anger about it online. I think we're all in agreement that we're happy with it. That we're okay with it. But online, of everything so far, that's easily the one I think that's gotten the most people not happy about that. Of course, people don't like things being made less powerful.
No.
Yeah.
And it's a trap that you can fall into as a designer where you're just like, oh, we'll give you that, then we'll give you this, then we'll give you that, and pretty soon, it gets out of hand.
Sometimes you got to choose whether to make people angry in the short term and do something good for the game, or make people happy in the short term and do something bad for the game, right?
Yeah. That guy, Dave, that's a good point. Makes me want to try to miss the 20th level rogue feature.
So
I can get a crit. So that's where you can use your heroic inspiration to re-roll that hit.
Yeah, that's where you
Try and get a
Perverse
miss.
incentives there.
Close your eyes. Yeah. Get yourself disadvantage on the roll. I kind of hope they get rid of the bonus action attack feats as well. It would be nice if it was truly a bonus action. Not sure which ones that is, Corel.
What do you mean, Coral?
Yeah. Let us know.
The
So,
bonus action attacks. Are you talking about like Polar Master and Crossbow Expert? Is that?
oh, right. Yeah, those. So let's look at the weapon mastery. And I've already had people confuse the Nick power, right? That's the one that gives you...
Okay. Polar Master and the Crossbow Expert. That's what Coral was
Okay.
referring to. Yeah. The thing about those is your bonus action is then taken every turn, and so you can never do anything fun with it. You're just attacking again, right?
Yeah, and the Nick one is the one that lets you basically do your attack without using your bonus.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can then use your bonus to do another attack. And I've already had people confuse that. They think, oh, I get 3 attacks with my dagger.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That is sorely needed, that Nick, because I tried to play a 2-weapon rogue once, and it just was swimming upstream with, the other things that I could use my bonus action for.
Yeah. So have you done any play testing, Chris, with the push? So it feels like there's going to be a lot of movement on the battlefield.
Yeah. I've play tested with several of the masteries, and I have done push. Yeah, and it is good when you are in the right circumstance. Right, you need something to push them into. That's because there's a lot of things we find that right now too with people take the telekinetic feat and their turn comes up and there's they're like looking for something to push or pull that actually makes a difference, and they don't find anything, but we'll push that guy 5 feet anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm worried, all these options are going to really slow stuff down and not for a lot of increase in fun. But they're there for the people that are real tactically sound and can use them, right? But everyone's going to be, like you're saying, trying to figure out how to use them and really slowing down the turn.
That's the danger.
The one that's definitely going to slow things down is topple.
Yeah, that's where you have to save every time.
Saving throw every time.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get rid of that.
Size limit on topple?
Large, yeah.
Large.
Oh, did they add?
No, you might be right. I
didn't think so. Nope.
There was something that was large. Let me see if I can find it here.
That might have been push.
Oh, way down in the
it was push
description. Okay.
Toppling
push, larger, smaller.
Creatures of any size, given if you've got a combatant with a bunch of attacks who can keep forcing a lot of saves to keep trying to land somebody prone, and then everyone can gang up and
that's
attack
what
with advantage.
Yeah,
that's rough. That doesn't seem like a great.
The dragon ends up prone, and then everyone circles around them, and
yeah.
I was a little bit worried about slow and high-level fighters just slowing everyone to 0, but it looks like not more than 10 feet.
It doesn't stack.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
With itself, it stacks with other things, but
yeah. So you could slow them with this and slow them with a Ray of Frost.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we got this, and let me show. Okay, so let me show some of the screenshots here that we got. Play in the game. And we actually have Raceland and Karaman and Kitiara fighting a wyvern there, so that's a cool looking picture. The play in the game stuff's pretty neat looking. I like how they've done. I have the other part of the play in the game. I like how they've done the side by side where they say, here's what the narration goes with the players and the DM, and then here's the mechanics that goes with it. That's pretty cool.
And this is how it starts now. Instead of having you make your character and then teaching you how to play the game, it's here's how you play the game. Now you make a character.
Yeah. So we got chapter 1 playing the game. Then we have share this chapter 3. It looks like character classes. So probably chapter 2 might be ancestries, I imagine, and then
backgrounds.
Backgrounds. Yeah. Ancestries and backgrounds might be together.
I cannot say anything.
You cannot say. I know.
Well, Jeremy was touting that the first big decision you might make is. No, I guess that would be ancestries or species.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Species. Yeah, that's what they call it. I like ancestries or lineages, but species it is. Character classes. So this one, oh my God, this had some consternation when people saw that their favorite subclass wasn't in the 2024 Player's Handbook. It's like they expected everything that has ever been published to be in this book.
We had pretty much figured out what almost all the subclasses were. The only thing that we weren't certain of before this was that they said that the soul knife was coming in, and we're like, okay, did they take out swashbuckler or did they do something else? And once we determined that, but other than that, we knew what was going to be here.
Yeah.
If you've been paying attention, you knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And any of these, like Swashbuckler, you could throw right back into your own game because you have the playtest version of Swashbuckler.
Well,
the very last
yeah,
one.
or you have the official version, right? Because they've said, in fact, Christian Hoffer, is that the one from comicbook.com?
Right.
He had reached out to the designers, and they confirmed that if you wanted to play an old subclass with a new class, that's okay, right?
Yeah. Jeremy was real clear in the original video. Basically it's like backward compatible, right? So you can take the 2014 stuff and move it forward and play it. Yeah. You can't be playing 2014 and grab this stuff and pull it into 2014.
Yeah,
in theory. I mean, you could.
I believe his wording was, once you activate the new player's handbook, the old player's handbook goes away. Yeah. Right. So, and he says mainly you don't mix and match. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So if you want to play a 2014 fighter, great. If you want to, but you don't play a 2024 fighter and then you take the 2014 feats, right?
Yep. I gotta catch up with the chat here. So, Girl says, if I hadn't pushed super fun personally, yeah. I mean, as a player, I'd enjoy it because you're always tactically thinking how you're going to use it. So when it's not your turn, you're always thinking, okay, where do I push this guy and where am I going to move to do that? Push that guy. And then we got curious if a lot of new tables will ignore the masteries. Maybe. I mean, that'd be a shame for the fighter. I'm sure if they did. It's hard to ignore on like a fighter. Yeah, definitely.
They got rid of flex, and to some degree, it was plus 2 damage.
Right, that was kind of lame.
And it was lame, and we all complained about it. But in retrospect, I think it would have been nice for a new player who doesn't want it, or a player who doesn't want to deal with masteries. Yeah. To just, okay, I'll take the plus 2 damage, and then I don't have to think about all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget about new players too, right? We're so concerned about our own experience that we forget that some things are more inviting to people who are looking for just dipping their toe in. So,
speaking of, we can talk about backgrounds.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I was. That's where I think they've kind of let the new players fall by the wayside.
Yeah, you got to pick your feet, you got to pick your masteries. Yeah. It's more complicated now to just start a character for sure. Okay, Math Guy says 3 legendary resistances will go fast if the DM's not very choosy with the topple and all the ways that you can force saving throws. Goading attack was my favorite cutting strike from the playtest. Farewell Swashbuckler, yeah. Oh, one interesting thing on the rogue. And I was happy to see this, and I wonder if it's kind of across the board. I don't know that I looked at the fighter. So on the rogue, and I don't know if it shows it here, but one of the cunning strike things they got rid of was disarm.
Yep.
And that's problematic. Disarming is always problematic because if you're fighting a creature and he's got one weapon, okay, now what's he do? Yeah. It kind of makes sense in verisimilitude, but it doesn't make sense in gameplay. So I was happy to see that.
I read a comment on my video for that where the person said it might be also that they have it planned for a future subclass.
I could see it going to Swashbuckler.
Yeah, like maybe because they kind of hinted in their video today that some of the familiar options being provided to chain pack warlocks were put there to support future releases, right? So they're planning ahead.
Yeah.
So they might be planning ahead with rogue too, and maybe disarm is just moving, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Speaking of warlocks, so you got your video out for the warlock. Oh, everyone check out Treantmonk. Your channel. You got reaction videos to everything, including even today. You got the warlock up, and that they don't have a link for it yet on their page. I don't think. I'm double checking. I'm reloading. No, they haven't got it up yet on their page, so I can't pull up what the changes were. But
they put in a comment. Actually, it's not going to come up till later this week. There was some kind of delay. So
okay, so they made major changes there. what was your favorite big change that they made there in the Warlock?
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, I can't talk about a lot of it because they didn't
I
talk
mean,
about a
I
lot of
can
it in
say
the video,
so. They made
right?
the Archfey. They
Yeah,
have all sorts of teleporting or misty stepping,
yeah,
and all sorts of features you can add onto the misty stepping, which looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think
yeah,
14th level feature. You can do a free misty step after you cast any enchantment, or I forget the other charm. I mean the
yeah.
other school. So you'll be misty stepping everywhere with that class. That looks like a lot of fun. The
Yes, it
other one
does.
is the Great Old One. A lot of really cool mind control stuff. They revealed a new thing you can summon with Summon Aberration. You can summon something that looks like a Mind Flayer, basically, or is a Mind Flayer, but not as strong as a full Monster Manual Mind Flayer. So that was pretty cool. Those two classes got a lot. Everything got a lot of
They're like
tweaks.
brand new subclasses. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's as if they just took the names of the old subclasses and just gave us entirely new
Yeah.
subclasses to play.
Kind of like the summon spells, right?
Yeah,
Oh man, I can't wait to see what they did there, because their summon spells I think came up in like playtest 8, and they were completely revamped and tweaked.
yeah,
It'll be real interesting to see how those turn out.
yeah. That's all the conjure spells.
Yeah, conjure,
Conjure
that's it.
animal and conjure
Yeah,
woodland beings. Yeah.
and they were turning him into spells that looked a lot like Spirit Guardians. Speaking of,
Yes.
oh my god, there's so many spells I wish I could look at right now.
We play tested with that conjure animals and it was
Yeah,
fun. It
yeah.
was a fun spell. Yeah.
Okay, let me get back to the chat here. We got Math Guy, maybe that was the last one. Goading Attack was pretty neat. Disarming leaves the GM decoding a stat block to figure out things out. Yeah, right. I mean, now you got to
Yeah.
punch or kick or
Yeah. But
and
that there are no mechanics for.
right. Yeah. But Putter has it too.
Yeah, Battle
Come on.
Master can still disarm. So
Oh,
they
they
haven't
still
gotten rid
can.
of disarming. Yeah.
Okay. Disarming probably also plays into the melee attack. Oh, let's look at that real quick. So where do I have it?
Yeah. Do you
Sphinx.
know what they're talking about? Because I do.
I think it is. So
you
here's
do
the
know.
Sphinx.
Yeah.
It's got a rend. It's got a melee attack roll. That used to say melee weapon attack roll.
Yeah.
And now it just says melee attack roll. So there's not melee spell, melee weapon. There's just melee.
Yeah.
And I imagine there's just ranged.
Because there was a very bad wording in 2014 where if you threw a dagger, you were making a ranged weapon attack, but you were making an attack with a melee weapon.
Yeah.
And so you were not making a melee weapon attack. You were making an attack with a melee weapon.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had to know that had to go.
Yeah.
Like it was just so silly.
And the monk, they had to do
yeah.
special, wording. They had to do special interpreting for the monk to stun things.
Yeah.
With his fists, right? Yeah. So that's good. What else we got in the stat blocks? We got initiative with a flat initiative in case you want to use just a flat initiative roll. We got all the modifiers for saves. So
I like that. Yeah, that the saving throw is lined up with the building score.
If you're a brand new DM, you might not know off the top of your head what the saves were, right? Because they never in the stat block unless they had one that was different than the ability.
Well, they had your stats, and then they had underneath it any saving throw proficiencies.
Yep.
They had.
But if they had none, and you're DM and you're brand new, you're like, okay, strength save, but there's none listed. What do I use? And it's just the modifier for the strength. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was super easy to overlook the way they had it before. I think I spent a long time as a DM typically overlooking
bonus here, +2. This thing's doing pretty good damage for a CR1 creature. It's doing an average 12 damage. So that's a bump up, I think, on average on the CR1 creature. And then it's got a little reaction here, and you can see the wording change on reaction. So that might be everywhere where they list specifically a trigger, specifically a response for the reaction. And this looks like basically the same as what a Artificer can do. And if it's based on their intelligence, which Artificer is, it'd be a +2 bonus. So that makes sense. And this is one of the familiars for the Warlock that they just revealed today. So other familiars they revealed today. So all the playtest things were in, which included a skeleton, included a slod tadpole, and the new ones were the Sphinx of Wonder. And then there's one more new one. See if I can remember off the top of my head.
Snake was not a
Venomous Snake.
Yeah,
Venomous Snake.
It was originally you could do it, but you didn't need to be a warlock.
Yeah. Okay. Back to Battlemaster keeping it is strange. Yeah. Hey, Ant. They parsed backgrounds down to a set of 16. with limiting options with them. How many backgrounds were in the original 2014 Player's Handbook? Leave that in the chat if you know.
I haven't counted.
I haven't gone to look. No. Yeah. So this is different. So what they do with backgrounds, they give you 3 ability scores that you can do the modifications to. Now, do they still keep what's it called when you just make up your own background? In which case,
no.
Well,
so that has been revealed. No,
has it? No.
Wow. So that was the big change from the playtest. In the playtest,
Yeah.
that was actually the first thing under backgrounds is here's how you make your own background.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeremy Crawford has said that there will be rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide for a player to work with their DM to create a custom background.
Wow.
So the tools in the player's handbook to make a custom background are not there, which means that, and we saw a little bit of screenshot. So, there's 1 feat and 3 ability scores.
Yep.
And that means that you have to pick one of those backgrounds and try to fit the feat you want with the ability scores you want, if you're a dirty optimizer like me.
So we now know that each background comes with exactly 1 feat that's paired with it.
Yes.
Wow.
Although they did say some backgrounds have the same feat. If that's your question, Dave.
Yes. No. He's asking if you can choose feats.
Oh, yeah. No.
Nope. You get the feat that's associated with your background.
That's a shocking change because generally with the character creation, they've tried to be more flexible with your pairing of species and background and class so that you can create the character you want and make something sort of unique. I remember when they first made fairies a playable race, something like that. And in my Adventurers League tables with strangers, I kept seeing people play fairy barbarians because it just seemed like such a novel, exciting thing to have this strong, mighty fairy. They're essentially playing the world's strongest fairy. People really enjoy creating characters that seem unique in some essential way. And this change to the background is definitely going to go in the other direction, where you are kind of enforced to, instead of playing the world's dumbest scholar, I think we may have all had that person on our workplace, you're going to have to pick a particular background that really suits your class, and you really can't get something that's totally unique unless you go to the dungeon master and say, well, can I customize?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if the Adventurers League lets you customize right from the start. I'm sure they will.
I mean, they're going to have to see some rules, which we're not going to see
for a while
until November.
November, I think, right? I think if you're like master tier, you can get it very end of October.
I mean,
DMG.
You could probably figure something out easy enough.
Yeah.
Pick a feat, pick the ability scores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flexible.
So Ant's does have a valid point though. There's less choice paralysis. You pick your background and you're done. You don't get it. Now there is some choice. You get to put 2 in one of those 3 ability scores, or 1 in the other, or 1 in all 3.
Yeah.
Math Guy talking about the release later this week for the Warlock. Celestial's pretty solid healer with buffed cure wounds. So here's an interesting point that someone brought up. A lot of people didn't like the healing being a bonus, or a potion healing being a bonus action to use. I wonder if it's been beefed up. Since all the cure wound spells are beefed up, I wonder if the healing potions are beefed up.
Yeah. Well, we don't know if the cure wound spell is beefed up yet.
Didn't somebody say
David's making assumptions based
on
the
play. I think somebody revealed that it was 2d8 instead of 1d8.
It was 2d8 in the playtest.
It was in the playtest.
And it scaled 2d8 per spell slot level.
It's almost. Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you that some spells that you saw in the playtest are going to go through as they were, and some are not. Right? And and we don't know which ones yet. Or if you guys don't know.
If I'm placing a bet, 2d8 stays with the cure wounds, and healing potions still are 2d4.
The funny part about that is it's still a trap. It was a trap to do it when it was 1d8. and it's just a more alluring trap to do it with 2d8. You're still not out healing the damage you're taking, even at 2d8. I don't think most times. Best defense is a good offense. You got to kill that monster that's hurting you. You can't out heal them. Usually, maybe we'll see. But since the monsters are going to have to be beefed up tremendously to keep up with these characters, I bet they're going to be doing a lot of damage. Glitter Fiasco says they've said that they are changing the Warlock spell list, and I'm so excited. My opinion, Warlock's main problem is so few spells. Oh, so another thing they talked about in Warlock is they have their extra spells, which are always considered prepped. So that's nice. Instead, not only expanding their list, but always prepped. Yeah.
But I see what Glitter Fiasco is saying is, of course, with Pack Magic, you automatically cast at the highest spell slot level.
Yep.
And for a lot of spells, that doesn't do anything, right? So you cast in a first level spell, and it's no different than if you cast it with a first level slot, you're casting it with a fifth level slot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely want more. I would always hunt for the spells that upcast, right?
Yep. Coral says, I'm just worried that Conjure Minor Elementals made it through.
Yeah, okay, so Conjure Minor Elementals in the playtest added a lot of damage to every attack you made, like every damage roll you made with attacks, and it also upscaled with higher spell slot levels. It was a lot.
Yeah. I felt like all those Conjure spells were kind of rushed into the playtest, and they needed some balancing. So I'm hoping they got some balancing. We'll see. H-Tap says, really curious if Blade Pact keeps the third attack.
Yeah. So,
It didn't say, I don't think.
It was Thirsting Blade was the invocation in the playtest.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2014, Thirsting Blade gives you extra attack at level 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the playtest, it also gave you a third attack at level 11, right? And that's a lot on a Warlock. Yeah. So a lot of people are curious about that.
Yeah. One big thing that made it through on the Warlock they confirmed was you can do, what is it, the extra damage on a cantrip to other than Eldritch Blast.
Yeah.
And the Eldritch Spear can be on a different cantrip as well. And there might be others as well. Now, like you were saying,
about Repelling Blast.
Repelling Blast, yeah, not Eldritch Spear. Although I think Eldritch Spear is also possible. I think that's the one that gives you long range with a cantrip.
That's the long range one, yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, Chris, in the video, that's good until your 5th level.
Yeah.
And then you're going to want to put it
once
right back
your
on
Firebolt goes to 2d10, or you can do 2 Eldritch Blasts, then Agonizing Blast is half as good.
Yeah.
On the 2d10, right?
Yeah. And it says, I think third attack required additional invocation, possibly. Oh, they also revealed that. So invocations are increased. They did say how much increase. The last playtest, you got 10 of them at the end.
Which, if you consider that your packed boon is now an invocation cost, it ended up being one more eventually.
Right. Yeah. And you get 1 invocation at first level, which you probably want to take as a packed boon, or maybe not. Maybe take an Agonizing Blast.
You don't have to.
Yeah,
but,
you don't have to.
I would be inclined to look at those first, probably.
Yeah. Okay, Math Guy Dave says, flat initiative would be neater if they weren't all going to be clumped like 9 to 15. You could really easily end up with all the enemies together, which is problematic. Yeah. When I do flat initiative, when I'm doing prep for a convention game, and I'll divide up the forces, and then I'll have some of them go on 15, some of them go on 5. And I'd usually have the leader go on 10 plus their modifier. So if the leader was, high dex, they might go on 12 or 13. And then half of the mooks would go on 15 plus their mod, and half would go on 5 plus their mod. That way I kind of divvy up everyone. So that's one way you can do it. That's how I do it a lot when I'm doing convention play, and I've had the initiatives all pre-rolled.
That was the nice thing about the MCDM, is that it's built in. You guys get a turn, now they get a turn, now you guys get a turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
CMDR Nervous Energy, is action cast hollow still a thing?
They made it a bonus action. It's crazy. And you can do it 10 times a day.
What is that?
What they're referring to is, in the playtest, clerics at level 10 got the Divine Intervention that allowed them to cast any of their spells up to 5th level as an action without any components.
Right. I was worried about that with Raised Dead and other
Hollow
stuff.
is a cleric spell that's within 5th level, and if you give it an action casting and no components, it's pretty dramatic for an action, right? Pretty dramatic. So a lot of people are wondering if that is still there, and obviously I can't tell you.
Yeah. Interesting. There'll be things that slip through, and don't be afraid to house rule 1 or 2 little things here that slips through.
Yeah. To be honest, I can give general opinions, and I'll tell you that the player's handbook is not perfect.
Yeah.
There are things in there that I'm not excited about. But there's more I'm excited about than not excited about. And most of the stuff I'm not excited about is stuff that I was hoping would change that didn't.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what their tactic is going forward, because when 2014 came out, pretty quickly everyone figured out, sharpshooter, crossbow expert, you're just going to do unbelievable amounts of damage. And they never changed it for 10 years. They had to know it was an issue, but they just refused to make any tweaks on balance. So we'll see if they make any balance tweaks going forward. 4th edition, they were making balance tweaks all the time. I don't know if you played. Did you ever play 4th edition, Chris?
I played it once.
Yeah. From day one, they were doing balance. Now, that gets annoying, obviously. They didn't want to kind of repeat that annoyance, but some things you just want to fix, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, David says, hopefully they add a lot more skills to monsters. There are so many brute-type monsters that have no proficiency with athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
so
they did add 75 new monsters, they said.
Yeah, so a lot of the YouTubers are doing this thing called Kraken Week, which has now been revealed. We're doing a week worth of ocean-themed videos. So my video is going to be redesigning the Kraken, because the Kraken has some serious flaws that do not make it a real challenge for a 17th level party. So I made a version that would be a version for a 17th level party. And that was one of the things I couldn't believe, is you have this legendary creature that's been around for millennia. It has learned how to do nothing, even though it's an ultra genius. Right? It has not learned history, nothing. 0 skills. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Of course it's learning something. It's supposed to be intelligence 22 or whatever it is. But anyway.
Krill says one nitpick on the monster stat block we're looking at here would be to have the response on its own line. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That would be quicker for the DM to pick up. Custom backgrounds will be in the DMG. Yeah. Do we know if there are going to be roles for importing the old background probably for importing the old backgrounds like the Planescape ones?
Okay, I think so. I think we can answer this question. Is if it's a background from the 2014 Player's Handbook, no. If it is a background that's not from the 2014 Player's Handbook, most of them are already giving you that bonus feat.
A lot of them are.
And so you're gonna play them as is, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases that does give you some choices, but usually from a very limited selection. Like they'll say you take this feat from this campaign setting, or you can have skilled or tough. Right?
Yeah. Math guy looked it up for us. Looks like there was 13 backgrounds in 2014 versus 16 now. So we actually got a few more. That's good. And then Brian confirms that. I like the limited backgrounds, but people were going nuts over this at Chris's Discord.
Yeah. Just like with Divine Smite, you do anything that is a limitation, and there is a percentage of my audience that go crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't present it in a negative light, right, in the video, but you take something away and people get angry, right?
Yeah.
And they focus on it.
Yeah.
It's like it's the only thing that we learned.
Math guy says if you do complete customization, you are just doing complete optimization, and we will all choose the same stuff all the time. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. True. Tiger Uppercut says, hi, Tiger. This way they can make better backgrounds and supplement books and sell them. Yeah.
I mean, not really, right? Because you got your origin feats. You're gonna they're all going to be associated with a background, and
Mhm.
you associate it with one more background and 3 more ability scores. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to make that inherently better.
Unless you create a new origin feat that's inherently better.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So the way Adventures League handles the backgrounds from sources that don't have feats is they basically have a short list of feats that you can put on any other background. And their short list of feats, they vary by the world that you're in. So it's a slightly different if you're in Faerun versus if you're in Planescape, for example, I think. Art says third parties can make the backgrounds too. Yeah. Matt, AL players will probably have to wait 6 months after the release to see any rules. Yep. It can be delayed, that's for sure. And then you're just going to make it up as you go. Do you foresee a lot of homebrew happening around the level 1 feats? Like you just said, Dave, if you make your own level 1 feats. Yeah,
Well,
I
he's
mean, yeah,
talking about, no, he's saying feats, not background. So he's talking about the origin feats.
probably the origin feats. Yep.
Yeah. And I can't answer that
Yeah.
because that would reveal what I know about feats.
TOD on a Steam said it's 2d8. Todd on a Steam.
I assume meant Todd Kendrick.
Yeah. What was 2d8? I forget what we were talking about when he.
Cure wounds.
Cure wounds. Oh, Todd said it was 2d8. Nice. Okay. Sweating about CME.
If that's what he said, that's what he said.
James from KC. Hey, James from KC. I'm in Wichita, in Wichita, Kansas.
Hey, James. James and I played in person a couple months ago in March.
Nice.
Yeah, in Kansas City.
Nice. You know Will, James? Really sad to see the nerfs to the rogue class. Rogue is the new monk. What was the nerfs? I think it was all improvements.
Yeah, no, there were no nerfs.
Just no big improvements.
The issue is that everyone else got a big pile of candy, and the rogues got a small pile of candy.
Yeah. Yeah, if I look at the rogue class, they got weapon mastery, so they're going to be able to get their, their advantage on their attacks or their free second attack. You get additional languages thieves can't. They lost their they gained Soul Knife, and Soul Knife had some pretty important changes because it was pretty like handicapped. Your psychic blades you could only use on basically your turn. Now at least you can use them for an opportunity attack, but not a reaction attack. Is that right?
Yeah. You can take the attack. So if you ready an attack action, and this has always been the case with the Soul Knife, is if you ready the attack action, you could use it. But that was the only way you could use it off turn before, because it was only used with your attack action. So now you can use it with your attack action and with opportunity attack. So what I mentioned in my video is if a battle master uses commanding strike to give you a reaction attack with a weapon, you still can't do that. But most of the time you're good.
They gave it a range out to 120 feet at long range. It used to be just 60 feet with no long range.
Oh, they said that. Oh, cool. Good. Yep. Okay, I'm glad they. Yeah. I hinted at that in the video, but yes. So they now have a long range.
And Vex mastery property. The thief, they basically kind of caved to how a lot of people thought it worked. In that you can use your activate a device to activate a magical device. So that's cool. They can.
I play tested that with a wand of viscid globs. Pretty good.
Okay, let's see what else they got. And of course, they got their cutting strike. So that's a big change in the rogue. They can poison, they can trip, they can withdraw. And at a higher level, they can do 2 of those things at 11th level. And then at 14th level, they get to add things. This was interesting that I noticed. They had the dazed condition in the playtest. Now they don't call it that anymore. It seems like instead they talk about limiting their action economy. I don't know why they would go back on that, because I know daze is just so succinct and it's like conditioning. You can look it up and you don't have to spell it out every time you.
There must have been a reason, but I honestly, I'm not even hiding anything. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's strange. Yeah. And blinded, and you can knock people out. So basically, each of these things, you give up 1 or more of your sneak attack dice to inflict one of these conditions. And often the conditions,
which is more dice.
Yeah. Blind Sense got removed. Slippery Mind added charisma. That was in the playtest. Yeah. Everyone got epic boons at 19th level. Oh, what's the rogue's epic boon? Let's take a look. I think it was here that I saw, actually in this description. So when you guys are watching the videos and you want to just kind of confirm what they talk about, Soul Knife, yeah, there's where it says the 120 feet. That's where I got that from. So sometimes they bury some stuff in here that they don't talk about in their videos.
Yes.
Okay, Boon of the Night Spirit. While in dim light or darkness, you have resistance on all damage except psychic and radiant. And as a bonus, there's another bonus action you can spend. You can gain the invisible condition. Very nice. Okay, back to the questions. Those rogue stuff. Ronan Hare says, JC, Jeremy Crawford, mentioned multiple attacks, which makes me think third attack made it through. It was bumped back to like level 17, make the fighters still feel unique. We'll see. We'll see. Math guy, they actually confirmed only repelling blast, I think. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, you had mentioned Elder Spear before.
I did
right.
mention
yeah.
that.
And they didn't.
And they didn't even talk about it, probably. Yeah.
It was repelling blast they were talking about.
Yeah, what I'm doing for my videos is I'm like taking the last playtest, and I marked all the changes.
Was confirmed buff in that same video as the Cauldron spell. Oh, okay.
Oh, taken down later by the creator? Oh, yeah, that was one of the...
It was one of the reveal...
okay.
And I think what happened is they had said Cure Wounds... Yeah, and now I remember. Okay, thanks, Dave. Yeah, they had been paid to reveal the new Cure Wounds and the new Cauldron spell, which I can't... Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron.
Cauldron, that's it. Yep.
And the Bubbling Cauldron, you can get a potion out of.
Yep.
And then the Cure Wounds was 2d8. And so and they showed it up on screen. And I think the reason they took it down was because in the document it shows which classes spell list it's on. And of course, it doesn't list Artificer because Artificer's not in the player's handbook. Yeah. And they said Artificers can't take Cure Wounds anymore.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so that's...
The internet melted down. And
that's not true, right? Yeah, so I'm betting that's why it got taken down.
Got it, okay. If Agonizing Blast was to only one damage roll, it'd be interesting for other cantrips, but would probably nerf Warlock too hard overall, yeah. James from KC, maybe too early to tell, but my players are already asking if we can convert our existing campaign to the new rules. I think a lot of players are going to like it. I don't see why players won't like it.
Your thoughts on how that might work? Okay, so the rules are changed, right? So what the feats you wanted and things like that might be different. I think mechanically it could work. It's as they said, it's backwards compatible. So if you want to play, you're playing a fighter battle master, and you get the new player's handbook, you can just start playing the 2024 Fighter Battle Master, and you can take the same maneuvers and all that stuff. But where you might run into trouble is if you might want to be flexible with players who maybe want to respec, right? Because the feat might not do what it did in 2014, and so it might not work for them the same way. And so I, as a DM, I think I'd be very willing to work with players who want to make adjustments, but I think you can do it for sure. Yep.
Girl, I expect to see Popcorn Initiative in the DMG as an alternate rule. Yeah, the current DMG has many alternate rules for initiative.
What's Popcorn Initiative? Do you guys know?
I don't know if he's thinking it's the MCDM where you go back and forth, or if it's where
maybe
it's where the person who goes picks who goes next.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wouldn't expect to see that because initiative and the cyclical initiative is hooked into too many rules for when spells expire and when this happens and when that happens.
In Dungeons & Dragons, it has been designed so that you have to maintain the same initiative order round after round, or screw things up. And we've seen that actually be with the ways. Because the one exception to that is when you control a mount. And if you allow controlling a mount like a Sphinx or something that can cast spells, that's abusable.
Yeah.
Right? Because or they get their legendary actions back after their turn comes up. So I mount them. There. I change their initiative to mine. Okay, they take an action. All right, I get off. All right, now I get on them, and they get another turn. They get their legendary actions back.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always play with basically rule that you can affect a thing once in a turn. So like the classic would be you have 20 people standing around a guy, and when first person stabs him, drops a dagger. Second person picks up the dagger, stabs him, drops a dagger. Third person picks up the dagger, stabs him, drops a dagger. How many times can that dagger attack around, right? So I always say you can basically do one thing. You can use an action to move an object, and if someone else tries to use an action to move the same object, they don't get to do it. Because it gets abusable fast.
This is what I do, is I say, don't do that kind of stuff. And they say, what kind of stuff? And I'm like, you know what kind of stuff.
You know what you're doing. You know what you did.
You know it, and I know it.
Does it rhyme? Oh, Force Cage. Wonder if Force Cage is around. Who's got the poker face? Who's reading Chris's poker face on these spells? We'll just start naming stuff off and see if he smiles or doesn't smile.
I wonder if there are any spells that are dropped from the spell list. I suspect not.
Probably not many.
But
I can tell you that before I ever got the Player's Handbook, they did guarantee that all the spells from the 2014 Player's Handbook would appear in the 2024 Player's Handbook, though not necessarily as you were used to them.
Right.
Well, they listed quite a number of spells, not by named, but they provided numbers of the spells that were changed and redesigned, and it's a pretty substantial number.
Yeah. I think they can't just drop spells because there's an adventure out there somewhere where an NPC has that spell, and then it's not backwards compatible if that spell doesn't exist anymore.
True fact. And then you can just start using the 2014 Force Cage with impunity when they've probably redesigned it to some extent.
Sorry, Corell, I'm too far behind the chat to know what free pick for them question might be too. Math Guy Dave. They will make new Origin feats with campaign setting books. Yeah.
Of course they will. Yeah, for sure. That's what they've been doing.
And make backgrounds to go with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Big Glory of the Giants was basically like that. The feat that wasn't very good was the one you got with your background. And then it was a prerequisite to get all the good feats.
Okay. It'd be interesting to see. Okay, so let's look at the DMG here real quick. So we got the cover. I love this back cover for the DMG. And then they've released the Creating Adventures Chapter 4 with a Ravenloft in the background there. That looks really cool. And then Creating Campaigns, they got this with amazing Spelljammer art. And then they revealed that the campaign sample that they're going to have is going to be Greyhawk. And it's going to have on the backside of this map the city of Greyhawk. And so I wonder if they'll have like some sample backgrounds that are just Greyhawk backgrounds. They might. We'll see.
That's very possible.
Yeah. Then this one got, oh man, a lot of people didn't like it when I posted this one.
We're not seeing what you're showing there.
Okay. Sorry, let me share that screen. Thanks for reminding me. Okay.
There we are.
So
people weren't happy with this. Why?
They were not happy with the planes. They're like, but there's supposed to be multiple levels and all,
And it's supposed to be square.
Oh, whatever.
I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is you're not supposed to take it too literally, right?
Right. Okay, let's go back to what I was not sharing. So Greyhawk, the map of Greyhawk looks gorgeous. That's gonna be a really nice skin in the DMG. And then the cover for Creating Campaigns, Chapter 5, with the cool Spelljammer art there. And then Chapter 4, this is Creating Adventures, cool Ravenloft art. And Chris Perkins worked on the DMG, and it's been really reorganized. And hopefully, like the player's book, it's going to have in the very first chapter, and I even went through all the stuff that was in the chapters. What new DMs need to learn. And that's really was kind of missing in the 5th edition DMG. So that's good to have that. Okay, back to questions. James from KC, Will was there? Yep. Good deal. Say hi to Will for us. Tiger Uppercut, I hope Assassin Rogue got a better feature to replace the one where they dress up in costume and forge documents. They did. They changed that part of it to where you can use your steady aim on the move. So, and I think you said this incorrectly, maybe, Chris. You talked about steady aim. They couldn't move before they took their shot, but I don't think the bonus action to give you the advantage has to be the same time as you take the attack with it.
No, so can you bring up rules on your screen?
Sure can.
Bring up steady aim from Tasha's.
From Tasha's, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
And so the feature, by the way, what it says is that your steady aim does not reduce your speed to 0.
Yep.
And yeah, so read the rule for steady aim,
Class features.
and you'll see what I'm talking about.
You guys seeing Tasha's?
All right, yep, that's it.
As a bonus action, you give yourself advantage on your next attack roll on the current turn. So I was
All
thinking,
right, now read the first part of the next sentence.
you can use this bonus action only if you have it. Oh, there you go. Now, did that go away? Well, you can't tell us. I don't think they shared if it went away or not.
All I could tell you is that the way it's written in Tasha's, you can only do it after.
Yeah. Okay, you got me there.
And also the way you saw it in the playtest, you can only do it after.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, the playtest was the same. Okay, so what was I talking about? That was talking about the Assassin Rogue. So their feature is steady aim. In theory, you can move afterward. Maybe you can move before if they change the wording. We'll see. We'll see when we get to see Player's Handbook. So yeah, that's the thing they changed there. They kept the other part, which was
the mimicry, where
yes,
you could
mimicry,
mimic someone.
mimic voices. Yeah, so that was kept. DM Greg, this feels like a lot more dice rolling for the DM, as if 5e. Yeah, I agree. I really love Shadow Dark. I love the minimalistic aspects of turns going very fast, but you only get like one thing on your turn. So I don't know what feels better as a player. You have a turn that has all sorts of stuff packed into the turn, or your turns come up rapidly. It's always a balance, I'm sure. So I think designers can kind of fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I gave the good players a lot to do, and they don't think necessarily as much about, I need to keep this moving rapidly so their turns come up rapidly.
One thing we know is that the Wizards of the Coast design team was steadily playtesting themselves through the entire process.
Yeah. Okay. Math Guy Dave. It was a bit confusing that MCDM created a different version of Dazed,
Yes.
which is also sold on D&D Beyond.
It wasn't because the playtest had a version of Dazed, and it was a little bit different than the MCDM one was.
Yeah. That's an interesting aspect of them selling other products on D&D Beyond. Because I'm pretty sure they have stuff that automatically links all the keywords.
Well, and there you go. Because Flea Mortals is on D&D Beyond, and it includes the MCDM version of Dazed in it.
Yeah.
Right. So then if you wanted to use that in your D&D game, and you had a different rule for Dazed in the Player's Handbook, that would be kind of a nightmare, right?
Yeah. Okay, Corral. Here's hoping the meta is significantly different. Shoot, Corral, I'm so far behind. I don't know what you're referring to again.
These young people and their words.
Robert Power. If you don't mind allowing mid-campaign rebuilds, I don't see why replacing the new stuff would be a problem. Only tricky thing is integrating older subclasses. Yeah. True. Tiger Uppercut, again, it's beautiful this time of year. Yep. 50 people watching, hit that like button. Oh, thanks, Ant. Yes, please hit that like button. That's the end of our questions. We've caught up with the questions. So if you have any questions, throw them in there real quick because we're wrapping it up. Chris, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You got a busy
I had a fun
week
time talking to you guys.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll get to do another Daggerheart or MCDM here in the future.
Yeah, I would like that.
All right. Thanks, everyone.